My stomach dropped like I'd stepped off a cliff when I saw the bridal shop attendant's face. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Her eyes darted to her manager, silently pleading for help as I stood there in my carefully pressed outfit, ready for my final fitting. "I'm so sorry," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Your sister came yesterday. She had your ID and said you couldn't make it." The world tilted sideways as her words registered. My sister had my dress, my $12,000 dress, 3 months of salary, countless overtime hours, all gone in a single act of betrayal. She took it? The words felt foreign in my mouth, like I was speaking underwater. "My wedding dress is gone?" The manager nodded, her professional smile cracking at the edges. "She showed your ID, said you gave her permission to pick it up early. There was nothing we could do." As I stood frozen in the middle of the boutique, surrounded by other brides living their perfect moments, a single thought crystallized with perfect clarity. Emma had no idea what I was capable of when pushed too far. My name is Vanessa. I'm 28 and a graphic designer. This is the story of how I reclaimed not just my wedding, but my entire identity from the sister who tried to steal both. For my entire life, I'd been the practical sister. While Emma dazzled everyone with her effortless charm and beauty, I was the one quietly working behind the scenes, saving, planning, creating. Our dynamic was set in stone from childhood. Emma shines, Vanessa supports. Emma succeeds, Vanessa applauds from the shadows. I'd spent 2 years searching for that dress. Not just any dress, but the one that would transform me from the invisible sister to a radiant bride. I'd worked extra freelance projects, skipped vacations, and tracked every dollar to afford it. 3 months' salary for the one day I'd feel truly seen. Emma never understood sacrifice. Why would she? She was the family favorite, gifted everything without lifting a finger. Our parents constantly reminded me how lucky I was to have such a magnetic sister. "Emma has the beauty, you have the brains," they'd say, like it was some consolation prize for being forgotten at every family gathering. What they didn't know was that my practical design skills had quietly built connections that would change everything. I drove to my parents' house, my knuckles white against the steering wheel. She must have taken my ID from my wallet during last Sunday's family dinner when I left my purse in the hallway to help Mom in the kitchen. The sound of laughter greeted me before I even knocked. Carefree, celebratory laughter that felt like acid against my skin. I pushed open the door without knocking. Emma stood in the center of the living room wearing my wedding dress, the ivory silk catching afternoon light in ways that made my heart twist painfully in my chest. She was spinning slowly, our mother circling her with a camera, both of them giddy with excitement. The dress fit her perfectly. Of course it did. The custom bodice I'd spent hours discussing with the designer hugged her frame like it was made for her. The cascading layers of hand-embroidered lace caught the light exactly as I'd imagined they would when I first sketched the concept. "What are you doing with my wedding dress?" My voice sounded foreign even to me, controlled but trembling at the edges. Emma stopped twirling, her smile never faltering. "It's not stealing, Vanessa. You always get the practical things. I get the beautiful ones." She shrugged like she was explaining simple math to a child. "It's just how we work." That dress cost me 3 months' salary. The words scraped against my throat. Mom lowered her phone, her expression shifting to gentle condescension. "Honey, you can find something else. Emma's wedding is the social event of the season. She needs to look perfect." "I need to look perfect too. It's my wedding dress." Dad didn't even look up from his newspaper. Emma's wedding is bigger, more important. More people will see her. More important. More people. The words landed like physical blows. Emma returned to admiring herself in the mirror, completely unmoved by my distress. "It looks better on me anyway. See how it fits my figure?" She smoothed a hand over the bodice. "You're more of a simple dress kind of person." The familiar scent of Mom's vanilla candles, normally comforting, now made my throat tighten with nausea. This was supposed to be my moment, my dress, my dream. "Besides," Emma continued, capturing another selfie in the mirror, "I'm posting these photos tonight. Everyone's going to see how perfect this dress is for my wedding. Back at our apartment that evening, I checked social media and saw that within hours my feeds were flooded with comments on Emma's photos. Gorgeous dress choice. Emma has such amazing taste. Can't wait to see this beauty walk down the aisle. Most stunning bride ever. But the real betrayal came the next morning when my fiancé, Justin, called. Confusion etched in his voice. "Vanessa, I just got a weird message from your cousin. She says Emma's wedding is next Saturday. Isn't that the day before ours?" My blood turned to ice. Emma hadn't just stolen my dress. She'd stolen my entire wedding date. The first blow came through a call from our florist, her apologetic tone immediately triggering alarm. "I'm so sorry for the confusion, but your parents called and said there was a mix-up with the dates. All your flower arrangements have been redirected to Emma's wedding." My grip tightened on the phone. "What do you mean, redirected?" "They said it was a miscommunication in the family, and since Emma's wedding is first, she gets priority. I'm really sorry, but we don't have enough inventory to recreate your order on such short notice." I hung up and immediately called the caterer. Same story. The venue coordinator. Same story. The photographer, the DJ, the rental company. One by one, every vendor I'd spent months researching and booking had been contacted by my parents and told that Emma's wedding took precedence. Emma had access to all my vendor information because I'd stored it in a planning binder I kept at our parents' house, thinking it would be safer there than in our small apartment. She must have photographed every page. The next escalation arrived through our family group chat. Emma had posted a cheerful message, fixed a little mix-up with the guest list. "Can't wait to see everyone at my wedding next Saturday." I scrolled through the responses with growing horror. My college friends, my work colleagues, even Justin's groomsmen were responding with excitement about attending Emma's wedding. She'd somehow gotten their contact information and sent them new invitations, claiming there had been a date change and they were now invited to the real celebration. "How did you get my friends' phone numbers?" I texted her directly. "Mom gave them to me. I just wanted to make sure the important people knew about the date correction. You understand?" Justin found me curled on our sofa that evening, surrounded by vendor cancellation emails. The rhythmic tapping of rain against our apartment windows seemed to mock my tears. "Maybe we should postpone," he said quietly, settling beside me. "Give ourselves time to rebook everything properly." I looked at him through tears that wouldn't stop. Even my own fiancé was starting to doubt our wedding could happen. The final escalation came at Sunday dinner. The entire family was gathered, including Emma's fiancé Brett, who seemed as confused about the sudden wedding timeline as I felt. "You know what I love most about all this?" Emma announced to the table, cutting into her roast beef with theatrical precision. "Everyone always said Vanessa was the creative one, but look at these wedding plans." She gestured with her fork. "Pure perfection. I'm so glad I thought of everything first." Mom beamed at her. "Emma has such exquisite taste. She's always been naturally gifted at these things." "First?" My voice rose. "I planned all of this months ago." Emma's laugh was like crystal breaking. "Vanessa, don't be silly. I finalized everything with the vendors last week." She took a sip of wine, eyes dancing. "You were just copying my ideas anyway." "You've never been creative enough for something this sophisticated." The taste of defeat burned bitter on my tongue as the family nodded along. Dad patted my shoulder condescendingly. "You should be grateful, sweetheart. You get to help make Emma's day special. That's what sisters do for each other." I sat silently, listening to them plan my stolen wedding, each word making me feel smaller. But inside, something cold and determined was growing. Emma thought she'd stolen my dream, but she had no idea what was coming. What they didn't know was that my little design hobby had made me incredibly well connected in ways they couldn't imagine. While Emma was busy being the family's shining star, I'd been quietly building something extraordinary. My freelance graphic design work wasn't just making wedding invitations for neighbors. I'd been anonymously creating brand identities for A-list celebrities, designing album covers for Grammy winners, and crafting marketing campaigns for Fortune 500 companies. My client list read like a who's who of Hollywood and high fashion, but the most important connection of all was Rachel Nolan, the world-renowned wedding dress designer whose creations graced red carpets and royal weddings. The dress Emma had stolen wasn't just any dress. It was a prototype from Rachel's upcoming collection, created specifically for me as part of our professional collaboration. I'd been working with Rachel for 6 months, helping her develop the visual branding for her new line, while she crafted this one-of-a-kind piece as payment. Rachel owed me more than a favor. She owed me her entire brand redesign that had just landed her a multi-million-dollar contract with a luxury department store chain. The legal papers sitting in my desk drawer made it clear. That dress was Rachel's intellectual property, created exclusively for me under a detailed contract Emma knew nothing about. My plan would give Emma everything she thought she wanted: her dream wedding, her moment in the spotlight, her perfect dress. But she'd also get a lesson in what happens when you steal from someone who spent years building real power instead of just collecting Instagram followers. Rachel was about to learn exactly what Emma had done, and Rachel wasn't the forgiving type. After returning from that painful family dinner, I went straight to my home office and pulled out the legal documentation for the dress. The next morning, I drove back to the bridal shop and called Rachel from the parking lot, my voice steady despite the fury burning in my chest. "Vanessa, darling, how are the final preparations going?" Rachel's British accent was warm with genuine affection. "Rachel, I need to tell you something about the prototype dress you made for me." When I explained what Emma had done, the silence on the other end was deafening. Then Rachel's voice turned ice cold. "She stole my creation. The dress I designed specifically for you as part of our contract?" Her tone could have frozen fire. "That dress is legally my property, Vanessa. This is theft of intellectual property on an international level." We spoke for nearly an hour, developing a plan that would both reclaim the dress and teach Emma a lesson. Rachel immediately contacted her legal team to prepare documentation and arranged to fly in for Emma's wedding, which was now just 5 days away. Meanwhile, Emma's arrogance reached new heights. She posted daily updates about her perfect wedding, an amazing designer dress, tagging fashion bloggers and wedding magazines. She'd somehow convinced herself that she'd discovered this incredible gown through her own impeccable taste. Our parents bragged to everyone who would listen about Emma's natural eye for luxury and her mysterious designer connections. Aunt Olivia called to congratulate Mom on raising such a sophisticated daughter. The breaking point came when Emma started charging her friends $50 each to be photographed in the exclusive designer gown for their social media. She was literally profiting from my stolen dress. Justin supported my plan completely after witnessing another family dinner where they treated me like Emma's unpaid wedding coordinator. "You deserve better than this," he said, holding me as I showed him Rachel's legal documentation. "Let's make sure she gets exactly what she's earned." Emma's final mistake came at Thursday's family dinner. She looked directly at me and announced to everyone, "You know what's funny? Vanessa was never creative enough for designer fashion. She doesn't understand true artistry like I do." That's when Rachel and I decided Emma needed to learn about real designer consequences. The wedding was in 2 days, and everything was about to change. Emma wanted to be the center of attention. She was about to get her wish in ways she never imagined. Saturday morning arrived with perfect weather, as if the universe was setting the stage for Emma's downfall. I positioned myself in the back of the church, watching as guests filled the pews. Many of them my own friends who thought they were attending a rescheduled celebration. Emma looked radiant, walking down the aisle in my stolen dress, the ivory silk flowing behind her like liquid moonlight. She was getting everything she'd ever wanted, and she knew it. The ceremony proceeded normally until the pastor asked if anyone had objections. That's when the church doors opened with a dramatic flourish. Rachel Nolan swept in like an avenging angel, her silver hair perfectly styled, wearing a black suit that screamed expensive European designer. The church fell silent as she walked confidently down the aisle, her heels clicking against the marble floor. "Excuse me," Rachel announced in her crisp British accent, her voice carrying to every corner of the church. I'm Rachel Nolan, and I need to speak with the bride about her dress. Emma's face drained of color. Brett looked confused. The wedding guests started murmuring. That dress, Rachel continued, pointing directly at Emma, is stolen property from my exclusive collection. It was created specifically for my business partner, Vanessa Thompson, under a legal contract. She held up official documents. I have security footage from the bridal shop showing this woman using fraudulent identification to steal my creation. Rachel had contacted the bridal shop immediately after our call and obtained their security footage, which clearly showed Emma presenting my ID and claiming to be me. Her legal team had prepared all the necessary documentation over the past 4 days. The murmuring turned to gasps. Emma tried to speak, but no words came out. Furthermore, Rachel's voice grew stronger. I'd like everyone to know that Vanessa Thompson is the anonymous designer behind the rebranding campaigns for Stellar Records, Daybreak Cosmetics, and the upcoming Borealis Fashion Week. She's been my collaborator for months. She turned to address the entire congregation. This dress was created as payment for Vanessa's brilliant work on my new collection launch. It's a prototype worth $50,000, and it was made exclusively for her. Emma finally found her voice. This is impossible. Vanessa's just a freelance designer. Rachel smiled coldly. A freelance designer whose work has been featured in Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and Elle. Perhaps you should have asked your sister about her career before stealing from her. The church erupted in shocked conversations. My parents sat frozen in the front pew, their faces pale with realization. Now, Rachel said with deadly calm, I'll be reclaiming my dress. Security is waiting outside with legal documentation. She looked Emma directly in the eyes. Congratulations, Emma. You've just committed theft at your own wedding in front of 200 witnesses. Rachel had coordinated with 2 of her company's security personnel who were stationed outside the church with notarized papers from her lawyers. They had been instructed to arrive exactly at noon, when the objection portion of the ceremony would likely be happening. Emma burst into tears as the weight of her humiliation crashed down on her. The wedding came to a complete halt as Rachel legally reclaimed her stolen creation. Emma's wedding ended in chaos. She was escorted to a side room to change into a backup dress while guests whispered in shocked groups throughout the church. Some left entirely, too embarrassed to witness the aftermath. Brett, finally understanding the full extent of Emma's deception, left the church without her, ending their engagement on the spot. My wedding the following week was everything I dreamed of and more. Rachel designed me a completely new gown, even more stunning than the stolen one, and personally attended as my guest of honor. The dress was featured in 3 major bridal magazines as the gown that launched a design partnership. The fallout for Emma was swift and brutal. She faced legal consequences for identity theft and fraud, ultimately accepting a plea deal that included community service and restitution payments. Her relationship with Brett was irreparably damaged, their engagement permanently broken after he witnessed her true character that day. Several of my friends who'd been invited to her wedding reached out to apologize, finally understanding the manipulation they'd witnessed. Our parents attempted awkward phone calls, trying to apologize without admitting how wrong they'd been. After 2 months of limited contact, I agreed to meet them for coffee, where they finally offered a genuine apology for years of favoritism. We're now rebuilding our relationship slowly, with clear boundaries about respect and recognition for my achievements. My design business went public with celebrity endorsements from Rachel's connections. Justin and I built our new life surrounded by people who valued my talent and integrity, rather than comparing me to Emma's superficial charm. Sometimes people have to lose everything to see what they threw away. Emma learned that way, and I finally learned my own worth. Real success comes from hard work, not taking shortcuts at others' expense. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. 0 cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.